What's good, y'all? I just wanted to make a quick video on how to change your accessory or V-belts or serpentine belts, whatever they're called, on a M30B35. This specific vehicle I'm doing this video on is a 1990 BMW 535i. This video also applies to the E32s, the 735i's that have the same engine. I'm not really sure if this applies to like the B34s and stuff like that, but I just wanted to put something out there since I didn't really see too many videos on these engines. I guess, you know, there's forums and stuff, but I don't really see too many videos on YouTube and stuff, so I just wanted to make a quick tutorial or tip guide, whatever you want to call it. So yeah. So for the tools you'll need, I have a 3/8 drive with a 19mm socket. Doesn't really matter what drive you have, as long as you have a 19mm socket. You also don't really need an extension. It's just personal preference for me. For an open head wrench, I have a 13mm, if that'll show. It's just a Craftsman ratcheting one. You don't need a ratcheting one. You can just use the open head side, or if you don't have one that ratchets on this side, you can just use a regular one. I just have a ratcheting one. It makes it a lot easier. Personal preference, but this is possible without a ratcheting wrench like this. Next, I have a flathead screwdriver. This is not important. I'm just kind of like weak, I guess, you know. All you really need this for is to just pull the plastic shroud around the fan clutch. I'll show you how to do that, but I don't know, it makes it a little bit easier having leverage rather than shoving your finger in there and trying to pull it out or whatever. And then the last tool that you need is a 32mm wrench like this, and this special tool. This came in a bundle. I got it off of Amazon. I think it was like 18 bucks at the time or something. It's nothing crazy. There's ways around it. All you really need this for is the fan clutch. It's good to have, I guess. I'll show you how to use this, and I'll leave a link in the description, I guess. So yeah, I guess let's get into it. Right, so the very first step you want to do is remove the plastic shrouding around the fan clutch on the radiator. Mine's currently already taken off because I was in the middle of doing the belts already, and then I decided to record a video. Ignore how bad my interior is, but that is the plastic piece that goes around the fan clutch. Basically what you want to do is there's two clips on either side of the radiator, and I just use a flathead. I don't know if that's in focus, but I just get a flathead, shove it in between the base and this little plunger thing, and when you shove it in there, I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed, but you just kind of like wiggle it around, pry at it, and then eventually the middle piece slides out like that. And let me set this screwdriver down. Once this plunger comes out all the way, you should be able to just pull the whole thing out, and then when you're done, you would stick it back in with the shroud, obviously, at the very end, and then you just kind of push down on this plunger like that, so that way it's flush, and that locks it into place. Just like this one, except I just have these resting in here so that way I wouldn't lose them. If you don't want to do that, another thing I recommend is just getting the Ziploc bag, you know, writing down clips for radiator shroud, something so that way you'll remember it goes here and you won't lose it, because these are just plastic pieces. They are replaceable, but yeah, nobody wants to go through the hassle of all that. So yeah. So once you get the plastic shrouding removed from the radiator, the next thing you need to do is remove the fan clutch. And this is where those specialized Amazon tools, or you can get these on eBay, wherever. I got mine off Amazon. And that's where these tools come into play. You want to make sure that you use the right side of this tool. There's a shorter side and a longer side, which I'll show you the difference of on the water pump pulley. So on the pulley, there's 4 bolts. there's the gap between the bolts are different, which is why there's a shorter and longer side. As you can see, between these two bolts right here, there is a short gap right here, but then if you were to spin the pulley, there is a much longer gap, and then when you spin it again, short gap, long gap. So as you can see, you just have to make sure you use the right side of the pulley. I like to use the longer side, you know, it just grips it better. I don't know, it's personal opinion. And basically you just stick that circle on the farther bolt and then the oval on the bolt closer to you, and it should just line up like so. As you can see, it's just resting on there, and all you're doing is you're just holding down the water pump while you use the other wrench to break the fan clutch free. The reason why you want that first tool to hold the water pump down is because if you try spinning it free, it's just going to keep rotating the water pump around, and you're not really going to break it free, and it's going to be a huge pain in the butt. So I already went ahead and broke mine free because I have no way of recording this one-handed and doing all of this one-handed. So yeah, once it's free, you need to remember that the fan clutch is a reverse thread. So instead of breaking it free and turning the wrench like this, you need to, I'm standing on the driver's side, I'm in the US, so that's on the left side of the vehicle. So once you break it free, you need to know that when you stick the wrench on, you need to pull it down towards you if you're standing on this side of the vehicle. And once it's free, you should be able to hold the water pump in place and spin the fan clutch off like so. There you go, and as you can see, it's slowly coming off. It's much faster when you have two hands, but yeah, and then once it starts reaching the end, it's about like halfway right now, but you just want to make sure you don't drop this, because then you'll damage the plastic fan blades that are on the fan clutch. And once it's off, I'll continue the video. So now that it's off, I'm just gonna set it off to the side or inside the vehicle, wherever you prefer, and we'll continue from there. Alright, now that our obstacles have been removed, which is the fan clutch shrouding and the fan clutch itself, you would finally have access to our belts, which is the whole purpose of this video. The very first belt you would remove is the belt closest to the front of the car, or the radiator, which is this belt that's currently not on, but it lines up with this pulley right here and goes to the AC compressor. Then you would remove the belt that's currently on the car in this video, off the crank and off the power steering pump. And then the third V-belt goes from the groove right there behind that belt up to the water pump and over to the alternator and then back down. The reason why you would have to remove it this way is, I don't know if I'll get a good camera angle, but the belt on the crank and AC compressor go in this direction, and then the belt for the power steering comes in this direction. And if you try taking just the power steering belt off, that's gonna hit the AC compressor belt, and there's just no way to maneuver it around. So you have to remove all of the belts, which is kind of annoying, or at least the belts in front of it. It gets kind of annoying, but if you're changing a belt, you might as well just change all three of them. Preventative maintenance, might as well, you know. Alright, now that I've gone over the order of removing the belts, let's go over how to actually remove them. On each of the three main components, the AC compressor, power steering pump, and alternator, there is a bracket just like this one on the alternator. This one's shiny because I've replaced it recently, but well, it's still grimy, but it's a lot cleaner than the rest of the car. But there's these kind of brackets on each of those components. This one's on the top of the alternator. The other two brackets are going to be located on the underside of each component. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like in a second. But for demonstration purposes, I'll show you how to loosen the tension of the belt that's on the alternator and water pump, just because this one's on the top of the engine bay. But the order you should go through with loosening them is start with the AC compressor, pop that belt off, then work your way over to the power steering pump, loosen that belt, take that off. Then lastly, you can loosen the tension on the alternator belt or bar or whatever, and then take that belt off. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how to do it on the alternator, just because it's up here at the top and I don't have to crawl under the car and record all of that for you guys. But I will show you like what it looks like underneath and everything. So yeah, to start, you need to grab your 19mm socket and stick it on this big bolt or whatever right here with the teeth on the bracket facing this side. And you need to grab that 13mm wrench and stick it on this nut back here. And all you need to do is you just need to break this nut free. You don't need to take the nut off, because if you take it off, then it's going to do some funky things. So you just want to break it free enough that the bolt kind of wiggles a little bit like that. That's perfect. So in order to break it free, just stick a ratchet on here like so. My ratchet's going to fall because I don't have another hand to grab it, but you would stick that ratchet on there like that. And then you would grab your wrench, stick your wrench on. I'm currently standing on the driver's side. I'm in the US, so the driver's side's on the left side. So I'm standing on this side of the vehicle. And with your socket on here like that, you would grab your wrench and pull back towards you like so. So that way it breaks the nut free and you'll get that little bit of play in it like so. So now once it's free, you take your wrench and set it to clockwise. So you want to set it to tighten. And as you rotate, you'll see that the alternator pivots closer towards the engine. There you go. So now that the alternator is closer towards the engine, let me set that ratchet down. You should be able to just basically wiggle the belt off, or if you got like really close, it should just like already be dangling. You can just take the belt off, assuming that the other two belts are off. So yeah, and then when you're done, you set your ratchet to loosen, and you just kind of bring it back up to you, just like that. There you go. It could go more. I'm not going to do that because I just don't want to risk breaking the teeth on it. But yeah, that's all you got to do. Once the belt's on, you just kind of loosen, or you set your ratchet to loosen, and the alternator comes back up. Check your tension. Good tension should, when you rotate your belt, it should come up like about halfway like that, and you shouldn't be able to turn it anymore. This one's pretty loose. I can turn it a whole lot more, as you can see, but I haven't changed this belt yet, so it doesn't really matter just yet. But yeah, good tension. It should just come up about halfway like that where I'm spinning it. So getting underneath the car, as you can see, there is the bracket right here for the AC compressor. This 19mm bolt was originally all the way like over here where my finger is, but because I've already taken the belt off, it's kind of like inwards more. But it's basically the exact same concept. Let me see if I can get my camera back there. There is a nut on the back side. I don't know if I can get a good view of that, but it should be right here-ish. That's on the back of this bolt right here. And you just want to get that. It's the same size, same 13mm nut on the back, same 19mm bolt on the front. Same concept, just break it free, rotate the nut counterclockwise, and then this bolt should just slide back and forth as you tighten and loosen it. And on the power steering pump, as you can see, my bracket's missing because I'm about to show you what happens if the teeth break. So I went ahead and removed it. But there is a bracket exactly like this, except it's just mirrored around, and it is on the power steering pump. And same concept, same 19mm bolt, same 13mm nut. All you do is just tighten, loosen the nut, and it'll slide back and forth for you. So I keep mentioning that the teeth on these adjusting bars are very brittle, but I haven't shown you exactly what that looks like when they break. So the reason why my power steering bracket was off was because the teeth had broken on it. So as you can see right here where my thumb is, through all the dirt and grime and everything that's on here, you can see that the teeth are completely rounded off, but like right here, these teeth are fine. So this happens with age. Unfortunately, I didn't notice that these teeth were gone, so someone previously had broken these, and I never took a look at it until right now. So I'm currently waiting in the mail for my new one, because I didn't want to go to BMW and pay like $80 for it when I went to FCP Euro or Pelican Parts or whatever website you prefer. Not sponsored, but great websites. It was like $15 on there, and FCP Euro offers a lifetime warranty. Again, not sponsored, but they do still sell parts like this, which is pretty nice, because if they didn't, I'd be kind of screwed, because this car is my daily driver. So yeah. So as another side note, if you're curious on how to remove one of these, like let's say yours did break, basically this bracket sits like this underneath the car, or under the power steering pump, and all you do is I loosen this nut completely, take this nut off, and then this bolt will, if you grab it, you can slide it out like this, and it'll come out of the power steering pump. Don't lose this metal piece unless if you plan on ordering a new one. I'm going to be reusing this hardware, just changing the bracket. So once that bolt's out, you loosen this bolt right here. I just hit it with an impact and counterclockwise, and eventually when this bolt comes out, you can kind of like fish it out, and then the bracket will just wiggle off. Like if it's clean in there, it should fall off with as soon as you take the bolt out, but because mine has like all this like grime and stuff on it, you kind of like wiggle it a little bit. So yeah, that's how you remove one of these brackets. Yeah. All right, so once your belts are back on, mine aren't on because I have to wait for my parts to come in the mail, but once all your belts are done, make sure that you pull this nut back as far back as it can go to the proper tension. Remember to check your belts for the right tension. Still haven't adjusted this one because I still got to take it off. Once the belts are tight, check on each of your tensioners that you remembered to tighten the nuts on the back of them. So you would stick your 19mm socket on here to hold this nut, this big nut on the back, or big bolt in place. And you want to tighten these clockwise. So for this specific situation, I'd stick the wrench on and I'd push it that way, so because you want to rotate it like that. And yeah, once each of these are tightened, you can put your fan clutch on, and then you can, if you left your clips in here, you can take these clips out temporarily, put that shroud back on, pop them back in, push the plunger back in, and you're done. So one last quick tip, when you're reinstalling the fan clutch, I like to just get it on by a few threads by hand, and then when your belt's on and everything, it kind of holds the water pump pulley in place, and you're able to just spin the fan clutch like this, and it just kind of tightens itself back on. Because my belt's not on, the pulley spins with it, but you're literally able to just smack the fan clutch like that, and it'll tighten itself all the way so it's flush to the pulley. And then once it's flush, I like to grab these tools right here, the specialized tools that I'll have as a link for in the description, and yeah, you just kind of stick the tools back on here, and then just give it one last bump with that wrench just to make sure it's tight, and you're good to go. Put that shroud back on and you're done. On that note, I'm gonna close out the video. I just wanted to make this video just because I don't really see too many like photos or videos or anything out there on these engines. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of like good information out there on the forums and stuff, but if you're a visual learner like myself, there's not really much out there. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, or if I made something unclear, or if there's something else I can try to help you guys out with, I'll try my best to get back to all of y'all. And yeah, other than that, I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day.